Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started on the next session here in the Fabricator stage, Insurance 101 for Fabricators. Insurance 101 for Fabricators, protecting your assets and managing risk. Here in the Fabricator stage, Marc Rosenkrantz is the president of Schechner
Lifson.
Yeah, Schechner Lifson Corporation. And he's here to talk to us about protecting your assets and insurance.
All right. I want to thank everybody who's here. I know it's a busy time of the day, but I do appreciate taking your time for 25, 30 minutes. I promise you that the amount of information you get and the savings potential, you'll be glad you heard this, because not all insurance is the same. And really, at the end of the day, it's only at the time of a loss where you realize if you have the right insurance or the wrong insurance. So some of the things we want to go over, and it's going to go through quick. I'm really going to focus on getting three main points across as to insurance and things that you should be aware of. But I will tell you that we do want to identify areas of loss. You want to be able to reduce your liability, your costs, while not sacrificing your coverage. And just basically an understanding of what's happening in the environment out there relative to insurance and stone. Today's situation with the world of insurance, it's a crazy world out there, as we all know. Generally, if you do nothing, insurance carriers are looking between 8 to 15% rate increases. So how do you compact and get away from having and being susceptible to those rate increases? So there's a shortage of supplies. We have the replacement cost building being at an all-time high. And we also, right now, our biggest fear is cyber liability. Everybody has a cyber exposure. Whether it be a one-person shop or a 2,000-person shop, everybody is susceptible to having a data breach and being swindled or scammed because of something with a computer or a laptop. So really what you need to be focusing on some of these things, and we'll talk about it, is some pre-breach and post-breach services that you should have access to and should be included in your program. So there's just some things that I often say, and I pointed out a few times, that if insurance had a careless or a stupid exclusion, most claims wouldn't be covered, but insurance responds regardless of stupidity and carelessness. You'll see some situations here where that's obviously not good risk management. Here, I guess you couldn't read the sign. It's things happen. Again, your insurance is meant to be there. As a general rule, and I hope everyone is sitting down, insurance companies generally do not like paying claims. I know that might be a surprise to everybody. But, so you really have to use your insurance wisely. And, sometimes you have if you have more than 3 claims, whether it be on your home, auto, or in your business, you're going to get non-renewed, and then you're going to have a problem getting regular insurance because all that information is shared within the industry. Wildfires, so what do we have? We constantly have wildfires. We have tornadoes hitting areas all over, hurricanes hitting, rain, and we have natural disasters that have really impacted the entire country. So it's not just Florida, Louisiana, California that get the impact. Yes, sadly, that's where a lot of the damage is and where everything bad happens. But at the end of the day, all of that risk and all of that payments, everybody is sharing in that. So that is why when I say that using your insurance wisely has become really, really important. And we'll talk about a few things that you should do on your current policies just to take the savings in your pocket, because the days of submitting small claims, $1,000, $1,500, those days are over. You can't use your insurance as a Band-Aid. You really can only use your insurance for meaningful claims. We work with about 220 shops, and we can go in and within 15 seconds of being in a facility, you can tell if it's a good, bad, and different. It's so important to be safe, and a safe shop doesn't happen by accident, as I say, and it's really, it starts at the top. So, I see people that have goggles, they put them around their neck, they put on ear things, they're in their pocket, and realistically, eye injuries are one of the few things that are so preventable, and it's really just a matter of paying attention and having management push down if they see employees not doing what they're supposed to. Then that's an issue. So, it's really a culture that the business owner has to have in their business. As you can see, a safe workplace, minimize claims, lower insurance costs, and obviously increase profitability. It's common sense, but a lot of people don't realize that, and it's one way, the easiest way to save money is not to have claims. And again, like we say, it starts with management, and it starts at the top. They got to lead by example. Where can you get a lot of these sources for safety and risk? You can get it from NSI, you can get it from ISFA, you can get it from your workers' comp carrier, and you can get it from your liability carrier, and your insurance broker should be able to provide specific safety items, and whether it be telematics or whether it be water control systems. You need to be asking because it's included in your premiums. And these are things, again, that will only ultimately save and bring savings to you. Anytime you have a year with no claims, you're going to end up saving money. So we talk about risk transfer, and a lot of times, and I'm not going to go heavy onto risk transfer, but at the end of the day, this is the infamous certificate of insurance. Everybody always gets asked for a certificate of insurance if they're dealing with a third-party contractor. Again, in this case here, it's, insurance is the easy thing. You keep buying insurance. Other ways of managing the risk is to maybe transfer it to somebody else. So if you have a contractor, somebody doing work for you, then you would get a certificate of insurance that names your business as an additional insured. That's why if that person causes damage, his policy will indemnify you and make you whole, and it doesn't hit your insurance. So even from a basic perspective of being a homeowner, if you have anybody, third-party contractor, whether it be your landscaper, a painter, plumber, electrician, anybody coming to your house, ask for a certificate of insurance that names you as additional insured before they do the service. This way, if they mess up on a pipe, mess up on the electric, and something happens, their insurance will be primary and not your homeowner's, which ultimately saves you money. So you just take that whole concept of risk transfer when you're on your business. And if anyone's doing installation and even to extent fabrication, there's plenty of times that you're going to always be asked for any job to attach a certificate of insurance. So those are just one things you can do. It's the magical piece of paper. But I always like to say that MARC, the M-A-R-C, is the savings cost through there. So what is the M? The M is for management procedures. So if you do have a loss, you do need to report it promptly. Talk to your broker. Talk to them to see if it's something you should be submitting. You need to have a proactive agent. This person has to be part of your trusted advisor. The A is avoidance. If something isn't working for you, then maybe avoid it. Don't do it anymore. Change your operation so that you remain profitable. As I say, stop doing it and sub it out if you have to. If you're not making money on it, then why are you doing it? R is the risk retention. So maybe now, like I mentioned, deductibles. The day of having a $500 or $1,000 deductible, you should have nothing less than a minimum of $2,500 because you're not going to put you're not putting in a $1,500 or $2,000 claim anymore. You're going to have you're going to have something over $4,000 or $5,000, and that's really your threshold for a pain. And if you had a large loss, what's $2,500? But take the premium, take the credit, and keep it in your pocket because it just doesn't make sense. You have to be careful with your workers' comp. That your experience gets based on claims, frequency, and severity. So while you have to report it, you can report for record purposes. Somebody has a small little cut and they go for their emergency room for $400 or $500, it's better off to pay for that and just report it as record purposes, and it will ultimately save you a lot of money on workers' comp, which in each state can be very costly if you get a lot of claims. And the last is the classifications. We're in a very unique industry, and there is some flexibility as to what you be classified as. And I can only say that, this is part of having a relationship with the broker because marble tile, solid quartz, there's some areas that they're able to get away with a plastic manufacturer versus stone cutting and polishing, depending on what you're doing. We tend to like to use more of a payroll exposure for liability. You could be sales or payroll, gross sales or payroll. To us, the payrolls are more consistent because you have that same payroll for workers' comp, and you can grow without actually increasing payroll to the extent of sales. Anytime you do it on gross sales, you happen to hit a big job and you're transferring or whatever, you end up, your insurance company ends up sharing in your growth. a lot faster than it would on payroll base. So, I mean, doesn't it work sometimes? It doesn't, but you should at least check that out. We mentioned about the certificates of insurance. So this is obviously, that is the document. And, you know, the key here, I think no. So the key here, the date up top is the date that it was printed. You must have additional insured wording under where it has right here. So by having your name listed in there as listed as an additional insured, the person who's doing your work and transfer, if this is they do installation, you guys fabricate, this protects you and will ultimately save you a whole lot of aggravation if you have a claim, you're involved in a claim. So we mentioned about the cyber liability. Again, I can't emphasize the number one claim that is impacting the industry, the world. And you must really pay attention to this because employees, you know, people work from home, there's things going on. So, you know, do certain 10 commandments, as I say. You cannot share your computers. Never open up an email that you don't know the source. If it's somebody that you're not sure, click onto the name and see if it's the real email. If you're not sure, pick up your phone and call your contact number, not the number that's listed in the email, because that's all part of the scam. Sensitive information you never send out, never transfer any of that information. Make sure you, as an office and as a business, you have to have antivirus software, and you know, any lost devices you got to immediately report. You know, when you have a breach, a lot of it, you know, you realize after the fact. People will say, "Oh, I don't have to worry. I don't really have an exposure. I have everything up in the cloud." Just as a reminder, the cloud is just somebody else's computer, so that's not going to help you in any which way. That is still susceptible to a breach. If that gets breached, you're impacted. The law is very clear. If you have a breach, you have to notify every customer and prospect, which we've all gotten that letter from various big box companies that have had that. You then have to offer a 3 to 5 year credit watch, should they be wanted for their credit. And if they suffer an identity theft, you're responsible and on the hook for that liability as well. Then you have to hire a forensic IT person to find out where the breach came from. So these are just some of the things that have to happen, all of which are part of an insurance policy. So if you have not had any conversation with your broker mentioning the word cyber liability, that is not good, because this is the number one claim that's hit the industry, and we're all susceptible to it. If you have a third-party IT person, somebody who manages your system, manages your website, you need to get that. We talked about the certificate of insurance. You need to get a certificate of insurance from that person and name you as an additional insured. Because if his error, he's a professional, he should be able to protect you. And if because you got breached and he did something wrong, his insurance should be paying for your situation, not yours. Two final ones that everyone ought to make sure. The IRS will definitely not call you. The IRS is not going to email you. Do not respond. Nobody has an uncle in Zimbabwe looking to give you money. All of these things, they're all scams. The fishing industry is, and that's PH fishing, is an industry all to itself. And really through the whole pandemic, it has only made it stronger. I mean, it is a very aggressive, and they are very good. If they want your stuff, they're going to take it. You just have to be prepared and have a plan before and a plan after. What are the other things? Two things. So let's just talk real quick about your property insurance. We have Fabricators here. Fabricator? No? Fabricator? So just in the world of Fabricators. So property insurance. When you have property insurance, most of the time everyone always puts everything under business. If you don't own the building, they're putting all your stuff under business personal property. So that's going to be your inventory, office stuff, all your stuff in there that you're responsible for. In 21 years now, I've yet to see a CNC, a Bridgestone, or Edger stolen. So we strongly recommend you take out all your machinery and equipment and get it rated as machinery equipment, because a carrier will rate that as building, and you're not paying for theft coverage, because quite frankly, it's not susceptible to theft. Breakdown, fire, those things, yes, but nobody's going to steal any of your fabrication equipment. So if you can pull that out, building rate is usually half the price of a contents rate. So I strongly recommend you separate the contents and your business, your equipment. That's one area where you can definitely save money. The other thing that we should be aware of is the pollution. And we can have a whole separate on the silicosis and what you have. A majority of all liability policies all have a silica and pollution exclusion. Some may be silent on silica. If it's an older form, you have to look on it, and it will be listed. It will specifically say yes or no in the exclusions right on the back of in the policy. We now have been able to partner with another carrier that we offer on-site pollution and contractors pollution, meaning if you go somewhere else and somebody alleges the silica and silica dust, it starts at like $1,500 for $1 million of coverage. It's very simple to respond to and to do. It's a one-page application, but I strongly recommend. That has not hit the way it's going to, but at some point in the immediate future, that's going to be the ticket, because those a lot of the workers from this 70s, 80s, and the early 90s, where they didn't have as much wet cutting, and it takes a while for this to metastasize. It's going to eventually hit. So you really want to have a pollution environmental policy in place, whether you own it as a distributor, because you're going to be named in it because you touched it, or if you're fabricating or installing. You think the time has really come to make sure you have a standalone environmental policy. That in a nutshell is the power of insurance quickly. While I know everyone is short on time or just wants to do. I can answer any questions. Everyone has a little card. You can certainly call us. Like I said, this is what we do, and we take it seriously. And it's one of those items that if you never have a claim, I got good insurance, I pay premium, I'm covered. It's when something bad happens, and that's not the time to realize that you're not properly prepared. And why you say this, cyber, I got to spend more, I got to do this. At least make it a business decision by knowing what the cost is and the coverage, rather than emotional saying, I don't want to spend anymore. You got to look at your stuff because it needs to be done right. You are in a very, it's a very delicate industry, and there's most of the time, there's not a lot of small claims. Things that happen, it happens bad. For a worker, the technology's gotten so good that just transporting and moving slabs, people get complaint, they got the forklift, they got an overhead, they just guide it, they do it every day for so long, they lose respect for the property. And next thing you know, this thing, oh no, I'll push it away. You're gonna push it. You're gonna lose a toe, lose a leg, or die. I mean, it's that serious and that quick. It's an instant bad thing. So, again, ownership, leaders start at top with the culture of safety and accountability. To keep things fresh, you should have maybe every week a little toolbox, a 10, 15 minute, bring them bagels in the morning or have something at lunch and just talk about a topic. And you have something good when you have an employee come in and say, hey, I noticed over behind that saw there was a little fray of something. You think we got to get that fixed? When they start bringing those suggestions to you because they see it, rule of thumb, if you see something, say something. You don't have to fix it. You got to report it to your manager, report it to ownership. And that once you get that mindset from everybody, it really works. If you have a lot of employees, if you have employees that are cutting, they have lockers, I would have them bring in a picture of their family and put it in the inside of their locker. That's always a good reminder that when they come to work, this is who they left, and they want to, when they leave work, go back to their family. And again, it just focuses on accountability and safety. So, any questions? Everyone all good? Yes, sir.
Got two questions.
Yeah.
The first one is, if you have a workers' comp claim, what's that do to the probability that OSHA's going to show up in your shop? And number two, if they do show up, what is a willful violation cost these days?
So the question was about if you have a workers' comp claim, and it has to be a bad claim for OSHA to get involved. And when OSHA comes, OSHA, you can deal with OSHA one of two ways. And if you're an accredited shop, you already know the one way is you volunteer and you invite them to your shop, and they'll give you a walkthrough, and they'll point out if there's any deficiencies, and they'll give you time to fix it, and there's no penalties or anything involved, versus having, somebody get crushed by a slab. Then they're going to shut you down, and they're going to investigate your whole shop and go through it. How much does something like that cost? Depends on how bad the injury was and how deficient the facility is as to the first thing that they're going to look at, no matter any time. They're going to say, let me see your log. And you give it, if you go hemina, you just, oh, I've seen anything from, 25,000. I mean, it's just, because it's not going to, it's not one. Yeah, it's just going to stack pile on. It may be up that high. I mean, it's just not a pretty picture, and it really is it can ruin your business. It can put you out and just ruin everything. Again, bringing them in, to me is always good. They're not a bad partner. They'll do what's right, and I think you from a doing what's right in karma is you want to have a safe shop. Nobody wants to have a bad shop, but walk in, like I say, I walk in, you look at the first windowsill. Is it clean or is there dust? That's, it tells you right off the bat what kind, if there's because it's all, I've had several shops now, and this was talked about earlier this morning, that for all employees, they x-ray right when they're first hired, and they get a starting point to see what's inside their lungs before they even do, because they know their shop is clean, and there's, they have good air filtration, good water circulation, and they want a starting point. So if anyone comes back at them, they can see that this person, had this or it looked like this. So don't say it was me. Anything else?
Perfect. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, guys.
Let's give Mark a round of applause. Very, very important. I mean, and you save a lot of money on the insurance side. That's extremely important. Preventative is way important.